and this is a critical time for humanity,
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it is a critical time, and there are many people like us who are bringing forth information, communication from something beyond our egos, to help mankind in our way.
Yeah.
Hello, one and all. This is Sally.
Hello.
And
Hi.
I'm Sal. And Sally has a connection with something beyond. And I thought it'd be great. Sally and I have known each other for quite a few years now. And I've experienced Sally going through her transition to be where she is now. And ditto for her. She's also experienced that change for me. I thought it'd be great just to have a little conversation and share with all of you as to the different possibilities of what it's like to be human.
Thank you, Sal.
Don't mention it, Sally.
Thank you for opening up this space to share and to chat. And we have known each other for many years now. And it has been lovely to share our journeys and to witness each other through what we move through. And yeah, it has been quite a journey. I started off as a reflexologist, and that was way back in 2001. And that's where I started to have like an awakening to healing. I had no idea about anything at all before that. And it was through actually doing a course a couple of years later on learning the emotional and spiritual aspects of working through the feet that I had this massive awakening and release. And that was the turning point for me, where life changed. It was like something opened up inside of me, my whole energy changed. And the little example is I always used to wear trousers, and then after that I wanted to wear skirts. Yeah. So the energy really shifted away in a way that not changed me, but actually opened me up to me. And life grew from then, and ultimately I had another massive awakening when the collective that I worked with came through. And it was uninvited, it was uninspected, it was euphoric, it was blissful, it was beautiful. It was one of the most life-changing experiences I've ever felt, and it was love. It was just pure love, just pure love. And that's the only way that I can describe it, but not in a human sense of love, because we talk about love as like we love each other, or we love our pets, or we love doing something, but it's not that.
Dispassionate.
Yes, we're talking about, I don't know, what label do you want to give it? Divinity, source, all that is. That to me is love, and I felt that presence with me, and it stayed with me. And it was like, I was actually sitting in bed and I was on my laptop, and this channel of something came down into me. And it was like my eyes were closed. I couldn't keep my eyes open, and my eyes went back. But the love, there was, some people have asked me, oh, weren't you scared? Weren't you uncomfortable because it was something that you had never experienced before? And the answer was no. I was in the most euphoric place. And I felt myself crying, but it was tears of joy and bliss. And it's really hard to describe that actual feeling. And I was aware of a sense of words, but not words, but I could feel my hands moving on the keyboard. And when the energy left, I was like, wow. And then I looked at the laptop and there was a message for me from them.
Right.
And from that point on, I didn't really tell anyone at first because I was like, well, how do you tell people that that's happened? And it happened a few more times, and every time it was always in a space where I was safe, I was secure, I was on my own, I was at peace. And it was just being held in that energy, in that love, in that presence. I had no idea what it was, but it was beautiful, and I welcomed it in. And that's how it first started.
Right. What interests me there in that particular point is that my experiences are slightly different. Now, both of us have had deep emotional traumas from our childhoods. And for me, it was about closing my heart off. So throughout my challenge in my life has been to open my heart.
Yes.
And when I open up and I connect with that love, at times the intensity is too much almost to bear.
Yes, yes.
And what I find myself is trying to constrain my chest, trying to, it's like the pattern of my childhood of trying to close my heart. The intensity is too much, and I'm going into my chest, and my chest is tightening, but the muscles are involuntarily trying to tighten just to stop that intensity. Yeah. And I have to hang on in there.
Yes. I understand. Especially the intensity that feels overwhelming. It's like, I can't hold this, I can't cope with this. For me, it's a bit different. It's like, I don't constrict. It's like from the inside, it's like opening up, and it's like, wow, but it's almost like I can't open up enough. I can't hold enough. It's so big that how can my body contain it or hold it? So if I feel it, even though the energy comes down, it's like that for me. And it's like, whoa. And sometimes the love is so intense. It's like, oh my God, it's like my body can't hold it. So it's slightly different, but it's the same sense of intense love that as a human we're not totally equipped to.
Almost.
Yeah.
From my perspective of my own channeling, so I've got a guy called Charlie.
Yes.
And he's not a guy, he's actually a 12th dimensional soul, according to him. Or it, but I'll say him. And he shared with me many years ago a template. I used to follow this other guy who now there, can't think of his name right now, but he did a chart of levels of consciousness. And I put that on my website. And then they sent me a cease and desist letter. And I said, look, I've just linked to you because they just wanted, these were the children, he died, they were the children. And they wanted to sell their template for £10. Yeah, I said, I have no problem, I just put your advert underneath.
Yes.
But no. So I said to Charlie, well, what do I do? And he said, forget about them. I'm going to give you something better. And so he gave me a new template of levels of consciousness, but it's not levels of consciousness, is the integration between our soul and our egos.
Yes.
And the majority of humanity is just below 20% of integration, which means that the moments when their soul communicates through the heart to the ego, they're so few and far between. They're just little moments here and there, but very few.
Yes.
And gradually we go up that level as we begin to integrate ourselves. What I mean by that is that as we begin to deal with the traumas of our childhood, so we go up in our ability or capacity to integrate, to communicate with our hearts,
Yes.
or for our hearts to communicate with us.
Yes.
Take your pick. And so by the time we get to 50% integration, there's hardly no one. I mean, we're talking millions in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, and the highest possible level for a human being, according to Charlie, is 89 point something. So the highest possibility of ego-soul integration between a human being and their soul by the heart is 89 point something percent. It is not possible for a human being to go above that. Actually, I'm not even sure it's 89. I think it might even be lower. I think it's 88 something. I'd have to look it up. It's a moot point. Nobody gets there. And like I said, the majority of people, they're below 20. There's a few who've made it up to 50. And there's very, very few, we're talking in hundreds, who've made it above 85 in the whole world.
Yeah.
And I've used that chart many times to work with people.
Yes.
Where's people positioned? And my chart also allows me to go into past lives, because sometimes I'm working with a client and, what's their level, I ask. And it says, oh, it's below 2%. I thought, past life.
Yeah.
And then we go to a past life, and then we work on something, some emotion, which is relevant to the present.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a different way. I'm not quite sure why I'm sharing this with you. I think I've gone off on a tangent.
You've gone on tangent, yes.
I'm always doing that. I've gone off on a tangent. There was a reason for that.
Level
So we
of
all have a
consciousness.
connection.
Yes.
But that connection increases as we deal with our trauma. And what surprised me in hindsight about you, because I remember you vividly many years ago saying to me, I think I could do this. You were thinking about...
Oh yes, right in the beginning.
That's
yes.
right at the beginning.
Yeah,
I think I can do this. And I was aware that, like me, you had a lot of problems.
Just a few.
Without going into details, but so you had your own trauma still to experience, still to deal with.
Yeah.
And I'm also aware that you've made huge strides, over the last couple of years.
Life has changed hugely, which has
Absolutely, yeah.
created changes and shifts within me emotionally and energetically. As the material life changed, shall we say, around me.
That,
Yeah, and so yes, a lot has changed. A lot has shifted.
I went to one of your sessions. Sally, she works with large groups of people and she connects, that's her thing. And then she gives messages to people. And I went to
I don't give the messages.
No, you're the vehicle. Yes, I mean, you are the...
Yes.
It couldn't happen
the voice box.
It couldn't happen without you.
Now that would be interesting.
So I was there, and it was a time when, I was still working out for a lot of my stuff. And that particular day, I was quite stressed. I'd been stressed that day. And I went to the group, and you were doing your thing. Various people, you were sort of directing yourself to various people. and I decided to connect. So I just connected to the group, and I was just there with my heart. And then you turned to me, whatever was within you turned to me, and said, thank you for being here, and I can't remember the exact words you said, but it was an acknowledgement that I was present with my heart.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You didn't say that per se, but
Yeah.
the words, what you were describing was that sort of scenario where you acknowledge my presence and my contribution.
Mm-hmm.
And it really, really touched me. And then I started crying. So for me, it was a powerful experience in its own right.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing of any particular import. It was simply that acknowledgement. But for me, that was sufficient at the time.
Yes.
So.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. I remember you being there. I didn't realise it had such. It touched you. I didn't
I was very
realise
touched.
it. Yeah. Thank you.
I wasn't emotionally cut off. I already spent many years trying to open up my heart.
Yeah, it's interesting because when I'm channeling, I'm in another place. Sally's not really there at all. So, and I don't have a memory of what has been shared when I come out of the trance. So, unless anyone shares with me on the day or afterwards, I don't know how it's really been received or how people are. So thank you for sharing that.
My experience of working is different from yours in that I don't disappear.
Yeah.
My ego is involved in the process. I'm part of the process.
Yes.
And I'll get images, I'll get thoughts. Invariably, it relies on me asking questions. So I have to ask a question.
Yeah.
And it has to be the right question.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we're fallible as human beings.
Yes. Yeah.
Our brain box is filled with all manner of images and belief systems and whatnot.
Isn't it just?
Isn't it?
Yes.
And so we have to be really, really careful as to what we believe, of what we share.
Yeah.
And so I do it through my body. So in a way, I do something similar to what you do, in that I allow my body, my muscles to communicate. So I just sort of do this with my hand.
The muscle testing.
Muscle test. And it's all yes, no answers.
Okay.
And so I have to ask a question and I get a yes, no. And so if my question isn't quite right, I get confusing yes, no answers. And then, I'm not asking the right question.
Yes, yeah.
And so my body, if you like, is the ego part of me that's out of awareness.
Yes.
Where you say you disappear, for me it's my body. I disconnect from my body.
And use your body as the tool. As
the body is the go-between.
Yes.
To actually let me know whether what I'm asking is true or not.
Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. So I would find, for me, I would find that so hard. It's not the way I work.
Sure.
But because I can be a bit controlling, and I also...
Don't believe that for a minute.
But a lot of
birds of a feather stick together.
A bit controlling, but that comes from self-doubt and low self-worth. So the only way that the collective can work through me is if I go. That's how I feel it, and that's how it works for me. So I don't know how I do it, but I use music to go into like a meditative state, and then I open and let go, and the energy comes in. And it feels like I always say like 100 million miles away, but I'm still in the moment, aware of what happens in the moment, but only in the moment. So I lose sense of time, I lose sense of having a body, I lose sense of physicality. I can still I'm aware of breath, but I lose my arms and my legs, everything sort of disappears. And then when they speak through me, it's like I'm aware of a word coming out and I can hear it, and Sally over there can understand the word, but I don't hold the meaning within a sentence or within anything. And as soon as that word's out, it's gone. So it's a very sort of strange feeling, because Sally over there is sort of witnessing something that's happening through a body, but I don't have control over it. I can stop, obviously, I can say, I want to stop, or I can stop the process, but I can't interfere in what's being shared, and I don't really have an awareness apart from when the sound of the word is being sounded. And then it's gone. So, and then when I come out of trance at the end of a session, I don't know. So it's really interesting, and I prefer it that way, because it means that my head, my ego, is not part of it, and they just use me, but they use me with great honor and love and respect, and they always, if I say no, then it's a no. So it's wonderful how I think we're both able to help people, but from channeling in different ways, but in ways that suit our own personalities.
Well, my personality has always been to find out how to heal myself. I've always been interested in what makes us tick, what goes on inside us. Our consciousness, our perceptions, how, what is the meaning, how to be. So that's always been my focus in life. And so I have an interest in healing, so-called. I mean, you don't heal anybody. People have to do it for themselves, but sort of guide them in the right direction. And today, I'm still doing that, but that isn't what Charlie wants from me.
What does he want from you?
I'm a prophet, and which is not quite the same thing. The problem with being a prophet is that there's been so many in the past, and they've all been wrong.
So you're putting your head above the parapet.
Absolutely.
I admire your courage.
in the 80s, when I was into spiritual healing, I was with a group, and there was this belief that there was going to be a meteor coming to the earth in the 80s. People are setting themselves up to go to South America, live in communes, trying to survive this event.
In the 80s, was that?
In the 80s, and then in the year 2000, we had, the internet's going to fall down because of this thing, and civilization's going to collapse. And then in 2012, we were going to have the
oh, that's right.
The calendar, this January.
Yes, I can't remember what it's called, but I remember 2012.
With Greg, whatever his name is, who became a multi-millionaire as a result of, saying this is what's going to happen.
It was 12-12-12, wasn't
Something
it?
like that. The Maya calendar.
That's it, yes.
And so there's some other people are saying something about 2017, and some people are saying 2025. So we've always had prophets of doom. I mean, it's in the Bible, right? It's the Bible, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, Revelation, and even in the Middle Ages, people thought the end is nigh, you know. I mean, how many times have you, you know, if you're old enough, you go down the shops, you can't go to the shops anymore, but you go to the shops and there'll be someone there with a placard, the end is nigh.
End is nigh, yeah.
I mean, prophets of doom are to a penny. So when I started to do kinesiology, muscle testing with other people, and then I was doing this with a friend who then began to tell me information about me.
Yeah.
Then I began to work with this. I don't know, there's something more here than just meets the eye. And then it began to say to me, there's a message. And that's what it's about.
Yeah.
So it's about the message, whereas actually my interest is about the healing.
Yeah.
It's working with people. So he works with me, working with people, to convince me that it's real. Not to convince others, to convince me that it's real. Because if I don't believe in his message is not going to go anywhere.
No.
So the message...
da, da, da.
The message was that the world as we know it is coming to an end. Well, you know, and he's given me the exact date and the year and even the time. And so I said, oh, okay, let's assume that you're right and this is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Is everybody going to die? He said, no. Some people are going off planet and some people will stay here. I said, well, if people are staying here, is the population going to continue? And he said, yes. I said, well, is there one place on this earth that's safe?
Mm-hmm.
So he said, yes. So I said, okay, give me the coordinates, latitude and longitude. So he did.
Wow.
And I looked it up. And I have to say that I was quite amazed, because part of the moment of the earth going bananas when it stops is literally the earth will stop. But that's not the only thing. There'll be things happening with the sun. But that moment of stopping is like tsunami waves, you know, like water is fluid. If you're in a car and the car suddenly stops, you go out through the window because you're not stuck to the car. Yeah. So anything that isn't stuck down is going to move. And so when the earth suddenly stops, the oceans are going to move. The momentum will keep going. And I read somewhere about how these tsunamis, if the earth suddenly stops, that the waves could be as much as a mile high, and they could travel at a speed where they could literally move for about 3,000 miles, unless something stops them. And there's nothing going to stop a mile high wave, right?
No.
So anyway, so this place, okay, so the earth rotates east to west. So when it stops, all the waters are going to start flowing. Yeah. So is that right? Is that how the earth rotates, east to west?
Oh, don't ask me. Don't ask me anything.
That's the earth. No, the earth rotates towards the east. The sun comes up from the east because the earth is moving towards it to meet it. So the earth rotates from the west to the east. And when it stops, the Atlantic will just go straight through, and it will go straight through Africa. And funnily enough, there is about a 3,000 mile gap before it hits the mountains. And then there's an area behind that, which is where he told me that's a safe space. So simply without me knowing anything, just by latitude and longitude, he took me to a place which was beyond where the waves would hit it. Now, that's not the only thing that will happen to the Earth, but it's one of the major ones. And I thought, well, that's interesting. It's on my web. If you're really curious, it's on my website, and you can go looking for it. But I wouldn't want to be here, regardless, because it'd be a Mad Max world.
Yeah.
Only the psychopaths will be out there, because all the good guys will be up in space. They won't be here. So I said to you yesterday that I asked Charlie, because I said, it would be nice for us to do this, and I would like this opportunity, etc. And I was meditating in the morning. I sort of connected with Charlie, and I said, so what is it? What is this intelligence? What's there? What's that about? Is it a soul? Is it like you? He said, no, it's not like me. It's not from the spirit world. It's actually literally an intelligence that already exists in the galaxy. So I said, you mean it's the true humans? And he said, yes, it is. And it dovetails in with the story I've been sharing, because when this event happens, if you believe in such a thing, then I'll be 94 by then. I'm dying here. I'm not going anywhere. So if I'm wrong, it doesn't make any difference, because I'll be dead anyway.
I'm just trying to do my maths to see if there's a possibility of me still being here.
Yes,
there is.
You're younger than I am.
Yeah.
And so 56 billion years ago, there was an alien race that came to this galaxy, which was very young at the time. And they became the overall intelligence that permeates this galaxy. And they split up, etc. But that same race is still going. They were super advanced then, because they actually came from another galaxy. All this information is in my website. And if we come to the present, they've known about us for a long time. And they're aware of what's to come. And so they set out from a number of places to come here to help us when the moment comes. And so right now, according to Charlie, there is 167 interstellar craft, each 7 miles long, wide, by 1 mile deep, capable of holding about 50 odd million people, which is hard to conceive. We're talking spacecraft, almost as large as Birmingham, not quite, but, like huge things.
Yeah.
And they say, why don't we know about it? Well, because we don't know anything. Our technology is infantile. We're talking about an intelligence which is way beyond anything that we can possibly conceive of. And in terms of their level of soul-heart integration, they're above 90%.
Holy moly.
Yeah. So they are beyond anything that we can possibly conceive of. And so they're here now, They're behind Mars, Saturn, they're behind some of the planets, they're in Venus, they're behind some of the moons, and they're just waiting. And some, not all of them, but some of them have already been here for a few years already, quite a few years, waiting for the event. Because they've come from so far away, you know, you don't want to miss a party. If you're going to a party, it's best to arrive early than late. And, you know, if they arrive late to the event, you know, they've come from 14 light years away. So they've arrived early with families, and they're just waiting in the sidelines for the event. So they're here twiddling their thumbs? No. What do people who have such an intelligence, who have such a connection with soul, who have such technology beyond our wildest dreams? I mean, I'm talking like 15,000 years of scientific know-how beyond what we're capable of now. If you think that there's an inverse square law as to like what we know now doubles and doubles and doubles. You take that 15,000 years plus into the future, we cannot even conceive of what that's about. We can't.
No. Who would even have known or thought about a mobile phone? You know, that's in our lifetime.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like, they do have computers which are sentient, who the computers themselves, sentient computers, call them what you like, they themselves are telepathic. And these true humans connect telepathically with each other. So that is my tuppence worth. And she did say, I don't like surprises. I'm not going to respond. I said, that's fine. You don't need to respond to this. This is just what Charlie said. That and to me, he said, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. Because if it is an intelligence, well, the true humans are the intelligence in this galaxy. And they're here fiddling their thumbs. And this is a critical time for humanity.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it is a critical time. And, you know, there are many people like us who are bringing forth information, communication from something beyond our egos to help mankind in our way.
Yeah. It's fascinating, actually, because when from the very beginning, and the first time I connected with them, or the energy, the presence, the love, it is about 17 years ago. But it's only the last 10, 11 years that I've been sort of more in the public arena and sharing with other people. But from the very beginning, I don't hear words, I don't get messages or anything like that. But there's always been a sense of when my ego or my fear or my whatever has sort of said, well, where are you from? Where are you from? It's just like blank. It's completely and utter blank. And I've just always felt that as soon as we attach to, for me anyway, because I know the way my mind works, attach to a name, a label, a constellation or whatever, then I immediately move into what my belief of that is. And I limit myself, because I'm very suggestible as well. So
we all are.
Yeah, really, it's like ridiculously suggestible. And it's so I've always maintained that when this energy and this presence comes through, it's all about the experience of it and how you feel within it and the benefits that you can have from it, and try and let go of needing to know more. But that's the way that I work. But I know a lot of people really want the answer, and they really want to know, and perhaps need to know, so that they can relax into it a bit more, instead of it just being dropping into the unknown. So it's wonderful to hear, and it's it feels good to me, it feels okay to me. It's not like it hasn't freaked me out, it hasn't actually created a reaction that I thought it would, which is quite nice.
Well, let me share with you that Jenny, my wife, she believes in Charlie. I mean, I've been working with her over the years, helping her to deal with her emotional world, her belief systems, her physical symptoms. And so she's got faith in Charlie. But she does not believe in aliens. That's a definite no-no.
Mm-hmm.
She just will not go there. She just doesn't want to know. She likes her animals. That's fine. But so we all have our limitations as to what we can take on board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And some things are scary. I mean, I was raised with sci-fi stuff, so for me, it was never scary.
Yeah.
In fact, for me, it's the other way around. For me, I was thinking about this yesterday, is not the satisfaction, but I can't think of the expression. It's like, I will never meet the true humans.
Mm-hmm.
I will never go into their spaceship. I will never see them. Regret. It's a regret that I will never have that experience.
Mm-hmm.
I would love that experience, but it's not going to be mine. And it's going to be my choice when I'm older. It's not my choice now, but when I get a bit wiser, I will make that choice. I'll tell you where I'm dying. I'm dying in Spain.
Are you?
In the mountains of Spain somewhere.
Oh.
That's what Charlie said to me. I mean, is that true? Who knows? I mean, could all be my fantasies.
Near us? Because I live in Spain, in the mountains.
You don't want to be there with me.
I'd rather not be.
You'd rather be up there.
This is true. It's interesting you say that about your wife, because for me, aliens has always been normal. Even as a child, to me, it was just like, well, of course there are. To me, it was like a normality. It was like, I don't know what all the fuss is about. It was humans that were the problem for me. Earthly humans. And
Aye.
Aye.
Well, actually, that's true for all of us. I mean, it's certainly true for me, and certainly true for Jenny. Because Jenny just went off into the animal world.
Yes. She's a beautiful connection with animals.
She certainly has. One day she just might do a podcast and tell us all about it, because it's really important.
Yeah.
But this became her safety, her cocoon. And of course, they don't talk back, so you have to develop your empathy to really engage with the animal to know what's going on. And she's got that to the nth degree. And you have that to some extent as well, because you've also been doing that course.
Yes, I have, yeah. I think what it did for me is it opened up the doorway to connect with animals. And like, I've always, you could take this how you like, preferred animals to humans in many ways. And my work, I used to like volunteer speak for the Born Free Foundation. I was like really compassionate and passionate about animals. And when I discovered this way of working with them, it was like, wow, this is amazing. But I feel I don't follow structure very well. So I want...
You sound just like me. Apart from the animal bit, I was never into animals. I was never into humans. I was only into me. Total self-control.
So now I've learned some really beautiful ways of connecting with animals, but I'm just not sure how I'm going to share it or what I'm going to do with it. But it is a beautiful, heart-opening way of connecting with other species, sentient beings, because they are sentient, conscious beings, just in a different form,
In fact, we'll just say a little bit about that who hasn't heard the phrase, you look like your dog or your dog looks like you? It's like there is that sort of almost confluence of personalities. And unfortunately, I've seen quite a few people with their animals, and their animals are as distressed as the humans.
Mm.
And this is something which is very poorly understood. And I'll be frank, I never understood it. It's only since being with Jenny that she's been opening my eyes. That we use animals, we treat animals like objects, whereas they've got their own emotions. They have their own experience, they're affected, they can be traumatized like human beings. The difference between them and us is they don't have our brain box. They don't have our level of indoctrination and regurgitation. And so they can let go of their trauma much more easily than we can, given half a chance. And this is what working with the trust technique, working with animals is about. It's about giving them this space to allow their trauma to be expressed and released.
And we listen to them. You know, it's creating that space of peace where we actually listen to them. And it's not listen in a sense of words and language, it's through behaviour, through emotion, through energy, and through noticing and just being so present with them. And they are communicating with us the whole time, but because they're communicating in a different way,
Sure.
Humans don't recognise it
absolutely.
or honour it. We just have our agenda and they do what we want them to do, when we want them to do it, and how we want them to do it. And it's a really shocking way to live a life
And I'll give
for
you
an
an
animal.
example. I'll give you an example. Since Jenny and I have been together, it's 15 years now, she's always had a dog and chickens. But the dog would come to me, oh, lovely dog, you know, scratch, 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 yeah, ignore. But the dog's coming to me because he wants to go for a wee, not because he wants affection. It has a need.
Yeah.
And so I've had to learn to be sensitive, open to, like when he comes up to me, do you just want that or do you have a need? You know, maybe he needs water, you know, like the dog needs something.
Yeah.
He's not coming just because he wants a little dubby-dubby with me, although he might do, but so I have to sort of think outside my box as to, well, what is it that this dog needs? And many people have animals and they don't do that.
No.
They're unaware. I mean, if they became aware, they'd be traumatized by how they treat their animals. But this happens so often. We're not aware of our animals as an independent being with own needs. Anyway, so my point was that because we don't connect, because we treat them as objects for our satisfaction, then we traumatize the animals simply by having them with us. Because
they pick up on our emotions.
Yeah.
They feel our emotions and they pick up on it.
Yeah.
And their behaviour is often a reflection of our own emotions. So they're, in a sense, reacting and showing us how we're feeling, but then we react back to them by saying, bad boy, be quiet, sit down, don't bark, you know. But actually all they're doing is reflecting our own stuff back to us.
Absolutely. Now, so we've got a dog here called Oscar, and he's got his own settee in the kitchen. That's his space. So we don't interfere. When he's there, we leave him alone. We don't go, oh, hey, how are you, boy? Yeah, come in there. No, leave him alone.
That's his safe space.
He wants to relax, just like we do.
Yeah. Yeah, don't wake me up in the middle of a nap.
And funnily enough, one of our cleaners, every time she came in, oh yeah, she'd be sort of all over the dog. And of course, the dog then gets hyper, but they don't realize. It's, oh yeah, well, I do that with my dogs. When's the dog going to relax?
Yeah.
You got to let them be, just like you want to be. You know, sometimes you just want to zone out.
Yeah.
Well, they want to zone out. So it's recognizing that animals are beings in their own right, not objects for our desire.
Yes. And things are changing slowly. They are changing slowly, but very slowly. But it is changing.
I'll still eat my cow.
I won't. I won't.
I'm pragmatic.
I'm vegetarian. And have been for like 30 odd years.
Yeah, I used to be too. Then I learned. Anyway, that's another story.
Oh my goodness.
So, anything you want to share with the world right now?
I think as the world becomes more chaotic and feels like there's a lot of separation and there's a lot of stuff going on, I think for anyone moving through like a difficult time, or they're wanting to bring change to the world, or they're wanting to help or whatever, I think the best thing that we can actually do to help the world is actually to be love and to really be that response and be that energy, be that vibration, and bring that love through ourselves, through our actions, through our words, through our interactions, whatever we put out. To me, the more love you put out, the more compassion, the more peace, that's what's going to change the world. And it's just like one heart at a time. And it's that collective growth of choosing peace, choosing love, choosing unity, choosing connection, that's going to help the world and also help each person.
Well,
that's how I feel.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm right there with you. On that score, Charlie shared something with me. Sometimes the information comes spontaneously and then I query it. I mean, like, he communicates with me at any odd time. And then I begin to ask questions about it and then I get more information. And so what he shared with me was that, because I'm going to be doing, for the last few years, he says, oh, we're going to do courses together, working with people, small groups of people. And, but it wasn't going to happen before 2025. Okay.
Well, we're almost there.
Yeah. But this is like a couple of years ago. Whereas about 4 years ago, he told me I was ready to start engaging with people. But to work with groups, not till next year. And so then I wrote an article. And in the process of that article, I came across information which I was unaware of. One of that bit of information is that within the Vedas, they've got this concept of Kali Yugas, there's the different epochs.
Yeah.
And there's an epoch which, according to them, was from 5,000 years ago, which will go on for nearly 500,000 years, in which we are at the worst possible space for collective humanity, basically disconnected from our hearts, like really at the bottom. And so I was connecting with Charlie, and he said, yes, there is such a thing, but it didn't start 5,000 years ago, it started 10,000 years ago. And that sort of made sense to me, because as a species, we've been traumatized since the end of the last cataclysm. And I mean, we've gone down to the worst possible things, slavery, sacrifice. We really have become so ignorant. And for a species that has been here nearly 500 million years on this planet, we've become quite barbaric.
Yeah.
We were much, much more enlightened before the last cataclysm. But then something changed in the universe, because everything in the universe is constantly moving, and the energy that reaches the earth changed. The vibration, whatever it was, something changed, something was missing, and we became more disconnected within ourselves. And so Charlie was telling me about, for what's going to come, for these true humans to actually take people on board, we need to be connected with our hearts, much more than we are today. Today we're only at just below 20% for the majority of people, and that needs to go up to a minimum of 45%. That means 45% connection between our hearts and our egos. And that means we need to start liking ourselves a lot more than we do today. And how do we get there? Something's got to change. And right now, I can't see it. But Charlie said that as from the 5th of January 2025, for a period of 15 years, that window, that cosmic window, is going to alter.
Oh, okay.
I mean, this shit place is going to stay a shit place for 500,000 years. But for 15 years, the sun's going to shine. And this is an opportunity that the spirit world, the soul world, has been working towards for the last 8,000 years. This is why there are so many of us on this planet at the moment. Because a lot of, I mentioned before about reincarnation.
Mm-hmm.
And we are unfortunate enough that because the last 10,000 years have been so traumatic, every previous incarnation has been a traumatic experience for the soul fragment within each of us. And so we are doomed to reconnect, to work through emotions which we haven't actually dealt with in previous lifetimes, because the society does not allow that, has not allowed that, because there's been such brutality within the environment. But now, with the window changing for 15 years, the connection between our minds, our hearts, our emotions, our physical body is going to be able to come closer together. We're going to be able to let go of the traumas. Not all of them, okay? There are some deep traumas which are difficult to let go of. But there are enough traumas we can let go of, that we can reach at least 45%. But why? Why 45%? What's so critical about that? Well, the true humans are just above 90% of ego-soul integration. Their experience of reality cannot coexist with someone who's at 20. For the true humans to take some of the population into their ships, those people need to be of a sufficiently high level of congruity in themselves that the experience between them and us is not so dystopian. You have to be able to have a meeting place. So 45% is the minimum. And those who don't make it to 45%, within 20 years, they're unlikely to leave this planet. So we've got 15 years. So it's what you're saying about opening our hearts, connecting. And that is a struggle at the moment, but it will get easier as from next year. And it will be amazing because the world will change with that. As more people open their hearts, so their experience of reality changes. And hopefully that will make for a nicer world. I'd like to believe so. I like to believe so.
Me too. Me too.
So Charlie says, 4 years ago, he said, within 10 years, there will be 1 billion of us who will have their hearts open enough to begin to really extend to the rest. Because the thing about feelings from the heart is that our feelings can travel worldwide.
Yeah, absolutely.
There is no boundary.
No.
And this is why the feelings from the true humans can reach us. But you cannot hear something if you're not ready for it. You've got to be opened to be able to hear certain things.
Absolutely.
If you're totally switched off, it's not going to happen. But come 2025, the new cosmic energy comes. There are so many people on this earth right now who they've been around the block many times. They've had many previous lifetimes. They have experienced being in a human body. They have experienced what it's like to be lost in an ego. And the only reason why they haven't woken up to themselves is because the influences in our world to keep the lid down on us, to keep us suppressed, is very, very intense. But as from next year, that's going to ease.
Bring it on. That's what I say.
Great.
Yeah.
You've got your work cut out, haven't you?
I have, yeah.
You're going to have to go out there a lot more than you're doing now.
I'm ready. I'm ready for whatever comes. And it's funny, I've always wanted to, it was all about, like you were saying, the healing for you was like healing yourself, healing. I was always like, oh God, I want to help others. It's like and I've always put everything ahead and like me at the bottom, myself at the bottom of the list. There's always been a desire in me to help others in any sort of way. So sharing the circles for me is hugely fulfilling because I see it happening in front of me, and it's beautiful to see what people move through. But equally, as you said before, people have to be ready, and you have to be proactive in your own healing and in your own awakening and in your own experiences. So it's a co-creation. It's a co-creation. We can't make anything happen. It has to be open from both sides. And I've really enjoyed hearing this.
Great. Okay. Well, we've spoken for over an hour.
Have we?
So it's run. But I think this probably is as good a place as any to end.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Sally.
Thank you, Sal.
For sharing with us.
Thank you.
Really
I've
appreciate
really
that.
loved chatting to you.
Great.
Thank you.
Good. Well, if this brings questions to you, Sally, I will put this information down on the YouTube underneath. But if there's how people may get in touch with you, because you do, Sally does all these meetings around the place now and then. Not many. She doesn't do many, just the occasional one, okay?
But I am going to be doing more online. Online and in person.
So how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, but I'm just in the process of redoing my site, but it's still going to be sallyclaridge.com.
Okay.
And I'm on social media as Sally M. Claridge. Sally M. Claridge.
I will put all this information so you'll be able to read it when I get around to putting this video out. if you have any questions, you've heard Sally speak. If there's any questions, write them down.
Yeah, I'm happy to
Yeah.
answer any questions that come through you as well. So, yeah, I'd love to hear what people think and feel.
There you go. Well, thank you very much for listening with us.
Thank you.
And all the best. And stay tuned 2025.
Yes.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Between the 9th or the 10th. You can't make it any more clear than that. 9th or the 10th of March, 2046. So 15 years is for the windows open. After that, the window shuts. But the hope is that by then there will be enough of us who are generating this love energy, so that those strugglers will find it a lot easier to wake up. So, there's still another 4 years or so, 5 years, however much it is, for them to get their act together and raise their level. So that's what's got to happen.
Yeah.
According to Charlie. I know nothing.
Yeah, I know nothing. I just turn up, do the do. And that's it.
How was it?
It was fun, it was good.
Good?
Yeah, it was good, yes.
What was the surprise?
I didn't cringe at all or freak out or anything. No, it was cool.
And what was the surprise?
Charlie says the energy or collective are the true humans.
The guys who come to
Rescue us.
To rescue those who are surviving the experience.
It's recording again.
Oh, gosh, that's strange.